Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome back. We will be doing a repeat of the linear regression example, except with the logistic regression case and a slightly different example. So, what I have written here is a very short code which is an OR gate. So, notice the OR gate is now given as 4 different examples 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, 1 1, and I have given the corresponding ground truths here. Y here is simply the ground truth. For 0 0 it is 0, 0 1 1, 1 0 1 and 1 1 also 1. And like we did in the linear regression, I have given a learning rate, I have given a reasonably high learning rate of w equal to 1 or alpha equal to 1, and epsilon the stopping criterion, let us make it a little bit smaller, maybe let us make it 10 power minus 3, okay, just to sort of see how the whole thing proceeds. This is obviously not good enough in general. So, we will see how it works. Now, I will show you the code with the comments, but the one I will be running is here, the one without the comments. So, the general logistic regression code, you will notice this is there in the week 5 material on the NPTEL website, you can copy it from there, is more or less identical to the linear regression code. Okay. So, it is remarkably identical, you will see this term is the same, this term is the same. The only place we start differing is here. Earlier in linear regression we had only this term w 0 up till w and xn, which was simply w dot x, there is a small typo here, please ignore that. So, we have sigmoid of w dot x which is sitting here. I have defined an inline function for sigmoid, and the only thing that changes from linear regression is instead of having just z which was the output for linear regression, you have sigmoid of z as the new hypothesis function. The other change is in calculating the loss function. The loss function is now the binary entropy loss function. Otherwise, the error terms etc. remain exactly the same. In fact, even the gradient terms remain the same. You can or you may remove include or you may remove the 1 by m term. Okay. I have chosen to include it just so that I could use the same code. This is just a lazy man solution. If you wish, you can remove the m. Otherwise, the gradient term is calculated in exactly the same way, and finally, we calculate the loss once again based on the sigmoid. Okay. So, let us run this code for the OR gate and see what it gives. You will notice these 4 points, these are our original data points, and the classifying line actually moves from an incorrect classification slowly up, and technically speaking this is already correctly classified, but we have set a certain stopping criteria. So, it will move till that stopping criteria is met. Notice also that the loss function j is continuously decreasing. Okay. So, please notice this. You will notice that as the loss function decreases, you can hardly notice any change in the classifying line. You will also see that the classifying line is not quite the one that we had given theoretically, which had gone through 0.5. As I mentioned in the previous video, this actually depends on what your initial conditions are. So, if your initial conditions are different, you might get a slightly different final classifying line. The whole point of this exercise, so this is obviously a very simple exercise with the OR gate, you can try it with AND gate if you wish, and you will get a slightly different classifying line. So, if you try with different initial conditions, you will get different classifying lines. The advantage of logistic regression is it will give you an answer. Of course, it will give you some local minima, it might be good or it might be bad. With 4 data points, it turns out that it can be reasonably good, okay, with this. Now, if I wanted to do the AND gate example, all I would need to do is change these. Okay. If I change this to 0, this to 0 and this to 1 and play with this, which I would recommend for you, please change all your data points and check what kind of gates it classifies. In fact, I would even recommend that you try and do the XOR gate, which is simply this 1 changed to a 0, and see what it does. You will see that in the case of the XOR gate, that J actually saturates very early, it does not keep on decreasing, and it gives an incorrect classification, because as we had discussed in the XOR video, XOR is not linearly classifiable. Okay. So, it is not linearly separable data. OR gate happens to be linearly separable. So, this is a simple code. I would encourage you to play with it, look through the code and kind of compare this with the linear regression code and see what you can notice overall. Thank you. In this video, we will be extending our binary classification, which we did using logistic regression, into the general problem of multinomial classification. Multinomial classification is simply the case when you have more than one classes, more than two classes. For example, if you have a case where you want to classify digits, okay, we will see examples of this later. So, let us say you have all your digits from 0 through 9. So, this is a 10 class classification problem. Somebody has handwritten digits and you want to find out which digit it is, okay. That would be a 10 class problem. So, k equal to 10 in such a case. Okay. So, when we try to solve such problems, there are primarily a few things that we have to do over and above what we did for the binary classification problem. Okay. So, what we need is the following. First, we need to know how do we represent the output class. For example, in binary classification, we simply decided if it belonged to one class, we would label it as 0, if it belonged to another class, we would label it as 1. Let us say we are dealing with a case where our 3 classes are something, we are trying to label images and the 3 classes are horses, cats and dogs. You have several choices. Obviously, you can't label it simply as words, as we have discussed in several videos before. You need to give a numerical label. So, one choice is to simply call this class 0, class 1, class 2, that is one possibility. We will look at one other solution, which is called the one hot vector. So, we will be looking at this. The second problem is what happens in the final layer. So, recall that in the binary classification task, we used the sigmoid because it neatly gave us a number between 0 and 1, and if it was close to 0, we knew it belonged to class 0, and if it was close to 1, we knew that it belonged to class 1. Now, what do we do in a multinomial classification case? Okay, so, we will be looking at a function called the softmax function, which actually corresponds very well with the one hot vector. So, we will use that for multinomial classification. Finally, we need to answer how we are going to calculate the loss or cost function for this case. We looked at the binary cross entropy as the cost function for binary classification. It turns out that we will use something very similar even for the multinomial classification. So, in the videos that follow, we will look at one hot vector, we will look at softmax, and we will look at how we are going to look at the loss function for multinomial classification. In this video, we will be looking at the one hot vector representation. Remember that the one hot vector representation is used for a case where you have more than 2 classes. You can also use it for the case when you have just 2 classes, but it is generally overkill to use a one hot vector. Let us start with a binary classification task and then we will go to a multinomial classification task and see how a one hot vector works. So, let us say you have two classes, you have an image and this image is that of a cat or a dog, okay, and I want to represent the output. The output says either cat or it says dog. So, earlier we would simply call cat as class 1 and dog as class 0 or vice versa, either way it is a simple number. Okay. Now, in order to generalize for the multiple class cases, we are going to represent our output instead as a vector. Okay. So, the vector is going to have two elements. Okay. So, in the ideal case, instead of calling cat simply 1, I would call it 1 0, this would represent cat, and I could call dog as 0 1, okay. This would represent a dog. Okay. Essentially, the first element represents the cat, the second element represents a dog. Okay. Now, how does this help? Let us go one more step. Let us say we have 3 classes. Let us say we have cats, dogs and horses. Once again, the one hot vector then looks like 0 0 1 for a horse, 0 1 0 for a dog. This is of course arbitrary, we just have to make consistent choices, 1 0 0 for a cat. Okay. In general, if our prediction is y hat is going to have k elements, y hat 1, y hat 2, so on and so forth up until y hat k. Okay. So, k was 3 in our cats, dogs, horses example. What is the meaning of each of these terms? Let us think about this carefully. So, in my cats, dogs, horses example, this is probability that my output belongs to class 1. Okay. Now, my ideal output would be simply 1 0 0 0 1 0 or 0 0 1, which is why it is called one hot, that is only one element is 1, all the others are 0, that is why it is called one hot. Okay. All the others effectively are cold. However, we know through logistic regression that we are not going to get precisely 0 or 1, we will get some number. This has to belong to some number between 0 and 1. What our actual prediction will typically look like is something like this, 0.9, 0.01, 0.09, something of that sort. This would represent to us, if I have a number of this sort, that this has a probability of 0.9 that it is a cat, it has a probability of 0.01 that it is a dog, and it is a probability of 0.09 that it is a horse. Okay. So, each element here, the element y hat k represents the probability. Okay. I will first write it in words and then I will write it in more mathematical term, belongs to class k. Okay. More precisely, this is probability that y k equal to 1 given whatever our input image. Okay. X here denotes the image in the example, and in general it would denote whatever input we have given. Okay. So, this is the one hot vector, and as you can see it can generalize to from a binary to a k class problem. We will be using this for multinomial classification. Welcome back. We will now look at some further details of the multinomial logistic regression or the classification multinomial classification algorithm. Remember that multinomial logistic regression deals with when you have k greater than 2 classes. So, in the last video we saw that in order to represent, remember we had talked about 4 different things that we need to do in order to establish our deep learning model. The first thing is representation of y hat. This we can do with the one hot vector. So, in case k is equal to 3, y hat will have some 3 numbers. Okay, so, suppose it is something like 0.75, 0.1, 0.15, okay, and y itself could be 100 or 010 or 001. Okay. So, you have something of this sort which represents y hat. Okay. Now, what we need to do next is to find out what is the nonlinearity. That will achieve the classification. Okay. So, let me briefly point out why this is important. So, let us say you have some input x. For the sake of this example, let us say x vector is an image. Let us say it is a 60 cross 60 grayscale image, which means x vector, as I have repeated many times, can be written simply as one unrolled single unrolled vector which goes from x 1 to x 3600. Okay. So, we will just represent this as x 1 up till x n. Okay. So, all these circles representing different components of this vector. Okay. Now, I have that. Now, I am going to do the same thing that we did before. X vector goes through a sigma, a summation, and we want to classify this image, this grayscale image, as one of 3 classes. Let us say I will take the same example I have done several times, or I have talked about several times. Let us say this is an image which we know is either of a cat or of a dog or of a horse. You can think of several engineering examples also, but let us say we will use this because they are immediately clear to us. Okay. So, suppose we have to do this, we need a y hat here, and y hat now is going to have 3 components, y hat 1, y hat 2, y hat 3, as I have shown above. Okay. Okay. Ideally, you would like only one of these to be 1, but as we have discussed several times, what you are going to get is actually some number between 0 and 1 for all these 3. Now, what is the property that you would like y hat to satisfy? I had already discussed before that each of these is a probability. Okay. So, if I get something of this sort, I will say that the probability that this image is a cat is 0.75, probability that it is a horse is 0.1, and probability that it is a dog is 0.15. That is the way I would like to interpret my y hat. Okay. So, if I want to interpret it that way, then what do I need? I need that sigma over all the classes of y hat k should be 1. Okay. This is required in case I want to interpret it in this way like a one hot vector. Okay. There are other ways of doing it, but this is the one that we will stick to for this course. Okay. This is what we would like to do. Okay. Obviously, it also means that all y hat k should also lie between 0 and 1. We do not want them to be either negative or even greater than 1. Okay. So, that is what we would like to achieve. These two conditions we would like y hat to satisfy. Now, remember that before it goes to this 3 outputs, you have a W matrix actually. What is the size of this matrix? Okay. So, suppose I ignore the bias term, okay. For now suppose I ignore this term which is the constant term, then you will see that each x, so W has to take in x and give out y hat. X is of the size 3600 cross 1, y is of the size 3 cross 1. Okay. So, what can you do in order to take this 3600 cross 1 to 3 cross 1? You need a weight matrix that will be of what size? Okay. This is going to be of the size 3 cross 3600. Why? Because then W x 3 cross 3600 and x is 3600 cross 1 will give you y hat which is 3 cross 1. Okay. So, let us put that in here. All these get together through W, there is a summation that gives you y hat. Would this be sufficient? Obviously not, because if I take some general weight matrix and just pre multiply it by x, there is no guarantee that these two conditions will be satisfied. This is the same problem that we faced while doing logistic regression also, that is W x is of the right size, but now I am not sure that when I apply when I simply apply a linear combination that it is going to give me a number between 0 and 1, which is why we use a squeezing function just like we did in logistic regression. So, in logistic regression we used a simple squeezing function. The squeezing function was sigmoid and sigmoid gave us between 0 and 1. Now, we could think why not do the same thing here. Okay. So, I have W x. So, if I apply sigmoid of W x, this will also give me a 3 cross 1 vector. Each of these numbers will be between 0 and 1. So, notice the operation I am doing, I find out z equal to W x, then I do sigmoid of z, this will also be a 3 cross 1 vector, each of these numbers will be between 0 and 1. Now, why not use that? There is one small problem, the problem is this will not be satisfied. Okay. So, if you arbitrarily apply sigmoid to 3 random numbers, you are not ascertain or you are not certain that the sum of those numbers will always stick to 1. Okay. So, what do? We do a simple function called the softmax function. Okay. So, the softmax function works in a very simple way. Softmax of Z I is equal to exponential of Z I divided by So, it is simply normalizing the exponentials of all these components. Okay. So, let me show this in a simple way. Okay. So, suppose you have x, once again 3600 cross 1, you apply W, okay, you get z, z is now 3 cross 1, remember W x becomes 3 cross 1 and now you have 3 numbers z 1, z 2, z 3. Our problem of course is z 1, z 2, z 3 are not between 1. So, what do? We say y hat is equal to softmax of these 3, which is the same as softmax of z 1, softmax of z 2 and softmax of Z3. What does this do? This is equal to e power Z1, e power Z2, e power Z3, all 3 multiplied by 1 by some denominator, where the denominator is e power Z1 plus e power Z2 plus e power Z3. You will notice automatically that both our conditions are satisfied, okay, because e power Z1 by this sum is always going to be between 0 and 1, okay. Since the exponential is a positive function, it is always going to be between 0 and 1. Another thing is the sum of these 3, this should be Z2. So, we also get the condition that sigma of y hat k between k equal to 1 to 3 is equal to 1. So, both our conditions are satisfied. Some of you might recall that in week 3 we had seen that the practical computation of softmax you have to be a little bit careful. If you compute the numerator and the denominator separately, as I have shown here, sometimes you might run into overflow problems. We had also looked at a solution to that within week 3 itself. So, I would ask you to look at that in case you have forgotten it. So, just to recapitulate what we have done in this video, it is a very simple idea. In case you have a one hot vector as a classification representation of your final output, all you need to do in the final layer or in the layer after the linear combination is to add a softmax. Okay. So, once you add that softmax, you get a proper classification, and this is your forward model for the multinomial logistic regression case. So, recall that we have looked at two things: the binary logistic regression in this case you have two classes. Your y hat, typically it is easier to just represent it as a scalar or 0 or a 1, okay. And we have our binary cross entropy loss function, which was minus y ln y hat plus 1 minus y ln 1 minus y hat, and then you have multinomial logistic regression where k is greater than 2, y hat now is a one hot vector. Okay. And the non-linearity we use here is softmax. The non-linearity we used here was sigmoid. Now, what do we do about j? So, that is the last problem that we have to solve here. As it turns out that this is also fairly straightforward, I will write it down right now. The cost function for the multinomial case is minus sigma yk ln yk hat. This is it for k equal to 1 to capital K classes. Now, you might think about what happened about this 1 minus y hat. Okay. Why is this looking slightly different from here? This is also a cross entropy loss function. Okay. For k greater than 2. Now, what happens at k equal to 2? Okay. I want to show you that the binary cross entropy loss function actually becomes equivalent to this in the case of k equal to 2. Okay. So, let us say you have y hat in the case of k equal to 2 and we represent it as a one hot vector. This is y hat 1, y hat 2. Okay. Similarly, y is y1 and y2. Now, if it is a binary problem, it is either this or that. Therefore, y hat k has to be equal to, or let me say this way, y hat 2 has to be equal to 1 minus y hat 1. Similarly, y 2 is equal to 1 minus y 1. So, if we run it through this formula, we get j equal to minus k equal to 1 to 2 y k ln y k hat, which simply becomes minus y 1 ln y 1 hat plus y 2 ln y 2 hat, and from these two relations this is simply minus y 1 ln y 1 hat plus 1 minus y 1 ln 1 minus y 1 hat, which is the same as the binary cross entropy loss function. Okay. So, this is just to say that this is a general formula. You can think of all classification loss functions in this form, or at least the cross entropy loss functions in this form. Okay. To summarize, so far we have looked at the forward model and the loss function for logistic regression as well as for the multinomial logistic regression. In both cases, all we have is a linear function followed by a non-linearity. When you repeat the same thing multiple times, you essentially get a deep neural network, as we will see in the following videos. Thank you.